Well, welcome everyone. My name is Doug Holt. I'm the Associate Vice President of Investments for Alberta Innovates. Alberta Innovates is the province's largest and Canada's first provincial and innovation agency. For a century, we've worked closely with researchers, companies, and entrepreneurs to build industries and strengthen communities. We offer seed funding, business advice, applied research and technical services, and avenues for partnership and collaboration. Alberta Innovates created the Scaleup and Growth Accelerator program with funding from the Provincial Ministry of Jobs, Economy and Innovation. This program is unprecedented for Alberta. Also known as Scale-Up Gap, the program is intended to close a scale-up gap in the province and contribute to the ministry's target of 900 new junior tech companies, 20,000 tech jobs, and $5 billion in revenue by 2030. With our funding partners at PrairieScan, Innovate Edmonton, and the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, we are bringing accelerators into Alberta to expand our ecosystem of coaching, community, and capital for entrepreneurs. I am here with, from 500 Global, Lucia Ferrero, Regional Director of Startup Programs for the Americas. From Alberta Pre-Accelerator, Don Newton, Lead for Accelerate Edmonton. From Community Safety and Wellness Accelerator powered by Alchemist, Ashif Maji, Chair of the Edmonton Police Foundation. And from Plug and Play, Sharif Sadoui, Director of Corporate Partnerships. These accelerators will provide specific programs in the founder's journey from validating their idea through to end users preparing them to scale up. So to get started, I'd like to let the panelists introduce themselves and their respective organizations. Lucia, why don't we start with you?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doug, and good morning, everyone. Like Doug said, my name is Lucia Ferrero, the Regional Director of Startup Programs for the Americas. So anything from Canada all the way down to Chile. Very, very excited about this opportunity to get to bring 500 Global to Canada, to Alberta in particular. Everybody that we've met so far in both Calgary and Edmonton have been amazing. Really, really a joy to work with, and the joy and the excitement for the ecosystem and what's to come for the area is contagious. So I'm Colombian, currently living in California, but I have a passion now for the Albertan ecosystem. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing that with us. Prior to joining 500, I was working in economic development in Lakeland, Florida, one of the fastest metropolitan areas in the US. And now here at 500, I just get to focus on Latin America, the US, and Canada, bringing all different types of startup programs to this region. Very excited to meet you all, and thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lucia. Dawn, why don't we turn to you next?
Thanks, Doug. I'm excited to be here with all of you, and glad to see we've got a lot of people interested in these accelerator programs. I'm Dawn Newton. I'm the head of Accelerate Edmonton, which is a new program division under Innovate Edmonton. And many of you are very familiar with Startup Edmonton, who's hosting this week, and really excited to be able to now bring this new program stream into our fold. So under that, and a big part of what I'm here to talk to you guys about today, is our new Alberta Pre-Accelerator. And with that, it's a partnership with Platform Calgary, and I'll happy to tell you more about that later. But really, our role in this is that earlier stage to be able to help you all as you look to scale up and grow and work with the Scale-Up accelerators. Thanks for having us here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dawn. Ashif?
Thank you, Doug, and thank you, everyone. My name is Ashif Maji. I wear a number of hats. Today, I'm going to wear the hat of chair for the Community Safety and Wellness Accelerator. This accelerator is really about lifting all around us up. And what I mean by that is, if you've got a venture around social impact, anything to do with, improving community safety, wellness, things like ending racism, domestic violence, etc. All of those things apply here. And, I'm really happy that we have Alchemist, and Rachel's on the Zoom call here today with us. She's the partner at Alchemist, and this is really a joint brainchild between a number of parties, but most importantly, Alchemist, who is again, you've heard of them, a great accelerator. So I'll ask Rachel to maybe introduce herself to you, please.
Sure, and I want to echo Lucia's words about how wonderful it's been to be welcomed to Alberta, and that everyone we've worked with has been absolutely delightful. I'm a partner with Alchemist Accelerator here in San Francisco. I run the corporate government programs. Prior to joining Alchemist, I was an institutional investor with a couple of VC funds, and before that, I was an industry analyst. Alchemist itself has been running for 10 years. The real strength of the program is our network. Our founder, Ravi Balani, very much like Ashif Morji, is very, very highly connected. He wanders around Silicon Valley collecting interesting people and keeping them in his pocket. And we can draw on that network for our coaches and mentors. It's a delightful community. We're thrilled to extend it into Alberta. We're excited to be working on these wicked problems. And I want to thank everyone for the opportunity.
Thank you. Back to you, Doug.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashif, and thank you, Rachel. I'm glad to have you here. Sharif, a little bit about you and Plug and Play.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to start off by echoing what Lucia and Rachel already said, is the excitement really is so contagious, and we've heard it from all of our conversations that we've had over the last 6 months with everyone in Edmonton. So thank you, and thank you for having us. My name is Sharif Sadawi. I'm a director at Plug and Play. Just to tell you a bit more about Plug and Play, there's a few different kind of arms to our business. We're VC, we're one of the most active VCs in the world in terms of volume of deals. So we typically invest in over 200 companies every year. We also have a corporate innovation platform where we help over 500 corporate partners. And that's really going to be a big thing in Alberta, is kind of connecting our corporate partners with the ecosystem in Alberta. And then finally, and probably most importantly, is our accelerator program. So we run over 60 of those programs around the world across 39 different locations. And we can't wait to get the 40th one on the map, which is going to be Alberta. So thank you for having us.
Thanks, Sharif. Very exciting. I speak for all of us when I say how excited we are to have all of you here and pursuing these activities in Alberta. It's going to be an exciting time for us and as we go forward. I think, though, there might be some questions out there around your specific curriculums and how you're different. So why don't we have a look at that and then talk a little bit about that and let you speak to what it is that makes your organizations unique and distinct. Why don't we go in reverse order on this one? And Sharif, we can start with you.
Sure, sounds good. So all of our programs are 3 months long. I think we do kind of the usual sort of workshops, pitch polishing, anything really that we can do to help startups grow. But I think what maybe sets us apart or makes us unique as an organization is our curriculum is very focused on business development opportunities for startups. So that's where our corporate network really comes in. And I guess that's what makes us kind of stand out from a lot of other accelerators.
Great, thank you. Ashif and Rachel, speak to your curriculum there.
Sure, I can start. So, with our accelerators, similar to others, it's a 12-week program. And we've started the intake process right now. So the application process is open. Our first course is going to start in January and end in March with the demo day. I'll let Rachel talk about the specifics, but the key thing behind our accelerator is we have a lot of community agencies and partners that will be bringing in domain expertise and data. So, when I put my founder hat on, having founded a number of companies, the things that I really wanted were, data, domain expertise, my pilot customer, my first paying customer, problem statements being defined, understanding how much to charge for things, getting, a grip on marketing and selling and all that. And all of those ingredients, including funding, will be available through our accelerator. So when I put my founder hat on, I get really excited about the program that we have, because it's everything that a founder or founding team would really need. So I'm really happy. So Rachel, I'll pass it on to you to talk about the program.
Yeah, absolutely. In 10 years of accelerating enterprise startups focused on large organizations, We've learned that it's not only the startups that need to learn to navigate the org structure of the large organization they're working with. It's the organizations that need to learn best practices and share best practices around engaging with startup ecosystems. So we work on both sides. We train the startups in how to navigate the stakeholders in a large org sale. We also work very closely with corporate and government innovators to share the latest best practices. This terrain is changing all of the time. I think this year in particular has been a renaissance for corporate and government innovation. It's a privileged position to be able to share best practices from all over the world. And that's part of what we'll be trying to bring to Alberta.
Wonderful, thank you. Dawn, why don't we turn it over to you and hear about the curriculum from your perspective?
Yeah, so Alberta's Pre-Accelerator is a little bit different than the other three in that we are still in development. So we have all of the backbone there and kind of core pieces that Alberta Innovates has approved for the work that we're doing, but we are not yet accepting applications, and that will be launched later this year. So really excited about what we're doing. It is a unprecedented realignment, harmonization, and expansion of startup support in Alberta, and really kind of fits earlier in the ecosystem for those that aren't yet ready to scale up, but looking for some of those kind of earlier core supports. So Alberta's Pre-Accelerator has 3 phases, and the first 2 being kind of online programming, and the third being kind of more in person in Edmonton and Calgary, and a hybrid approach for that delivery. And with that, founders don't necessarily have to follow that sequence with all 3 phases. They can, depending where they fit, it's a merit-based program, and can slot in depending on where their organization is and their needs. So I am going to encourage people to go to albertapreaccelerator.com if you're interested in learning when we launch and getting information as the program comes out later this year. You can sign up just by sharing your name and email, and we'll keep you up to date as everything rolls out. Our first cohorts are going to get started in January, so we're really excited about that.
That's great, Dawn, thanks. And despite having a healthy hockey rivalry between the respective cities, and I'm sure we can all agree that it's there's been no more important time to see our 2 cities collaborate and work together. And so it's a great opportunity to see that happening here. Lucia, why don't we wrap up on the curriculum piece with 500 Global?
Great, yeah. So the Alberta Accelerator by 500 Global is a rotating program between Edmonton and Calgary. So with the first batch starting in Edmonton, and then alternatively Calgary, Edmonton, Calgary, Edmonton. It is a sector agnostic accelerator. However, companies do have to offer technology or technology enabled solutions in a capital efficient way. Our curriculum is divided in 3 phases. First phase is foundations of growth. Second phase is customer discovery experiments. And then the third phase is everything around demo day. I would say that one of the things that makes our program stand out is, 500 Global now, previously 500 Startups, brings a global community of mentors, team members, and just community as a whole to the accelerator. So once you're part of the accelerator and you go through the program, you get to remain part of the 500 community, which, like I mentioned, is just made up of people from all over the world with different expertises and different industries. So it's a very complete environment of people. Just to answer some of the questions that I've seen in the chat, the first batch, like I mentioned, is in Edmonton. Applications are open now, and they will be open until November 5th. So if you're thinking about applying to our first batch, that's one date that you have to have in mind. And thank you, Lan, for sharing that link to our application site.
Lucia, you've jumped ahead on me, and I was going to start to ask you questions about that. And that's, where can companies go to apply? Where can these startups go to apply, and the timelines? And is that the same for Calgary? Is it different for Edmonton? How does that work? Lan, I suppose we're going to put the websites in the chat there to make sure everybody knows where to go. Have we covered that off sufficiently with you, Lucia?
Yes, so the first batch is in Edmonton, starting in January. So the application deadline is November 5th. Then we'll review and we'll do the selection. And then the first batch will be starting January 10th of 2020. What is it? 2022. And then, the Calgary ones would come after. So for now, Edmonton, November 5th.
Wonderful, thank you. Dawn, you spoke to being in development in some phases of the curriculum and not accepting applications yet. You did speak to timelines, but maybe just repeat that for everybody so that we're all on the same page and knowing where to go and when to go there.
Yeah, you bet. That website, again, it's Alberta preaccelerator.com. And so we will be launching and starting to accept applications before the end of the year. So really excited about that, just working out those last details at this point. And one thing that we will have is actually quite a few more cohorts than you'll see with the other accelerators. Within our pre-accelerator, we will have programs based out of Edmonton and Calgary 6 times a year in both cities for that very early phase. And then really excited to then also have kind of in phase 2 a high number of cohorts and becomes kind of fewer as we get to that latter stage. The criteria for those are really aligned with the Scaleup accelerators, so that when you come to the end of graduating phase 3 program, you're ready to apply into those Scaleup growth accelerators and kind of move on to that next stage for your organization.
Wonderful, thanks. Steve and Rachel, the same question over to you.
I'll let Rachel go first.
Sure. Because the Community Safety and Wellness Accelerator is has such a specific focus, we aim to make Alberta a magnet for startups from all over the world. We have this amazing community that Ashif has put together of local organizations working on community safety and wellness. We have funding available for startups. So we're hoping to reach folks globally who are working on areas like smoking cessation. We're talking to a company that is working with Indigenous groups to preserve forests and sell carbon credits on the blockchain. Our very specific opportunity here, I think, is to make Alberta and Edmonton in particular a magnet for folks from all over the world who are looking for that data and for that opportunity and support to plug into a metropolitan area and create new solutions to difficult social and community problems.
Yeah, I'll echo exactly what Rachel said. I mean, if you think about the problems that we have in the community here, whether it's homelessness or addictions or domestic violence, those same problems are very similar across communities globally. So if you can make it work here, there's a very good chance it'll work everywhere else. And so if you think about social impact, you can do some really good things for the community around you and make money at it, because these are all commercializable solutions. Right, so allows you to do it here and then scale up and take it globally. So we're very excited about that.
Absolutely, these are anything but regional problems. These are global issues, and so wonderful to see those being tackled. Sharif, how and where can startups go to apply for Plug and Play's accelerator?
Yeah, sure. So applications are not open yet. We're still in the process of hiring, but if you see the link that Lan posted in the chat, I mean, it's a relatively straightforward process where you apply online, but we are targeting our first cohort by the end of February. So we'll start applications probably early December. So
Great.
Still a couple of months ahead of us, but it's a very straightforward once we're up and running.
Excellent. Well, to all the viewers, I'm sure you can see that these are 4 distinct accelerators, and they've got different value propositions, and they can help startups grow and achieve their goals in different fashions. I would turn it back to the panelists, and I would ask them a final question here before we turn it over for questions from the audience. And we'll start with Sharif. The question is, if you were to give these startups one piece of advice in terms of how to select the right accelerator for them, what would it be?
Well, I think all the panelists and companies represented here today, we all know that we're here to collaborate on a project together. So I don't think, I think we're all going to be communicating with each other and kind of referring startups to one another. And I would say that the best way for any, founders out there is pick up the phone, speak to one of our staff, reach out to us on LinkedIn or email and just have conversations, because our ventures people are always really happy to speak to startups. So my hope is that, after conversations like that, we could say, yes, you should apply, or I'm sorry, there's a very loud plane outside. I hope you can't hear that. My hope is that we can have those kind of conversations, and then we can say, yes, you should apply, or no, you should get in touch with Don from Innovate Edmonton, or speak with Global 500, and we all work collaboratively to place startups at the right place at the right time.
It's great, Sharif. Appreciate the spirit of collaboration. Ashif, Rachel.
Yeah, same thing. I'd say, obviously look at each website. And I think reciprocally, we're going to have the different links on our intake page as well, so that a starter can look at it and go, this actually might be better. And so even when we're doing our interviewing and stuff, we're gonna feel them out and say, okay, I don't think you qualify, or I don't think this is a good fit, but we think this other one might be a really good fit. So then we'll point them there, and kind of we don't want to lose anybody. The last thing I want is a company coming here and saying, well, this one didn't work, so I want them to go to one of the other ones. So, well, I think we'll all work very collaboratively on that.
Excellent. Dawn, same question.
Yeah, I would encourage founders that if you're not getting accepted in your first round of application into one of the Scaleup accelerators, don't be discouraged. There is a lot of support in the community, and certainly Innovate Edmonton is expanding our program from startup to Scaleup to be able to really ensure that founders can navigate all of the supports that are available. So we have team members within Innovate Edmonton that can help you understand some of the different program options that we offer, but also help you look at the other programs that are offered, like these accelerators that are really a phenomenal opportunity. So excited to be able to work with the founder community and continue to see you grow.
Great, thanks, Dawn. And last but certainly not least, Lucia, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Yes, definitely, echoing everything the other three great panelists just said. But personally, I just like to advise entrepreneurs to just look at their companies, look at their team, see which timeline fits better, which structure fits better for them. At the end of the day, mental health and time and all of those things are also very important, and a good thing at a bad time could be a bad thing. So just take a look at your team, where you're at, and where your company is at, and see if right now might be the good time to apply for an accelerator, or if maybe you should wait for following batches. These programs are intense. The word themselves, the name themselves just say it. You're accelerating your company. So I like to just advise startups to just make sure that they're prepared, that they have a good support system, that they have the time and the effort to truly dedicate themselves to these kinds of programs. And the blessing here and the great thing here is that if it's not now, it could be next year, because Alberta Innovates was just so great to provide several opportunities for everyone, so that as Ashif says, nobody gets left behind. So in addition to everything everybody else just said, I would just give that piece of advice to just, it depends, and just make sure that you take a look at your company before jumping into one of these programs.
Thank you. Great advice there from everyone. I appreciate that. We're going to transition into the Q&A section of the discussion now. My colleague Lan has been monitoring the questions, and she's going to ask them to the panel. I'm going to leave this in more of an open forum, allow you to answer as you see fit, and you would like to chime in. I'm sure that there will be some questions where there'll be multiple groups that may want to answer, and others that you may not. So, but we'll just let this kind of be a freer flow in that capacity. Lan, would you mind coming off mute and then asking some questions?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Doug. So the first question is from John Hagan. He asked, still on the curriculum theme, so we're going a bit back here. Alberta, like the rest of the country, is great with startups, and in brackets, love, we have the Pre-Accelerator. How specifically will the accelerators help stimulate scale up? And how do you all work together without stepping on toes? So this could be answered by both Doug and the rest of the panelists. So go ahead.
Well, I will let the panelists go after this, and then I'll follow up if I feel like there's anything that needs to be said.
I think a lot of that's been answered already through kind of the spirit of collaboration that we're all coming to the table with, and stepping on each other's toes shouldn't be an issue at all.
Agreed. I mean, Plug and Play and 500 and Alchemist work together in a bunch of different geographies, and I have the greatest respect for what my colleagues are doing in those programs. Specifically, I wanted to address the piece about Scaleup. This is really the art of acceleration, and it comes down to customer discovery. With each startup, we will work to identify a list of prospects. We will facilitate the conversations that they have with those community organizations or government entities. And what we'll be looking for in each case is a set of problems that are common to a large number of those prospective customers, in order to refine the startup's value proposition to find what we call product market fit. And that's an iterative process. It happens at every stage of a startup's evolution. So we'll be working with each startup to find where the greatest opportunity is for their business to go into hypergrowth. That's how we set the conditions for scale up. We collect data from the market, we analyze that data, and we find the place, the vector on which the startup can move, which will lead it to scale up very rapidly. As I said, I think Ashif has worked very hard to create those conditions specifically for our community safety and wellness startups in Edmonton, and I'm very, very excited to work with that.
Thank you. So Gail has a question. Gail, do you want to hop on to ask your question?
Which one? I have a couple in there.
So Gail, for the interest of time and also for the other question to answer, I'm addressing your first question around the three accelerators that you think that they're all at the same stage. So that's your very first question.
All right. So yes, what stage of company are you all looking for outside of the pre-seed accelerator?
I can start. For Plug and Play, we're looking for later stage companies. That's kind of where we fit in the whole map that was laid out by Alberta Innovates. So companies that have a fully fledged product or service and that are ready to kind of get working with our corporate partners. As I mentioned before, it's very focused on business development opportunities. What we found over the years is, especially for the late stage startups, is that kind of getting businesses often more valuable than raising capital for those startups. So that's really where we come in, is try and connect them with our global network and lead to pilots, POCs, commercial deals. And we feel like that's where Plug and Play comes in, at least out of the three.
Excellent. And that answers the investment. People aren't looking for investment, but they're looking for networks and customers. That sounds like that's still a fit for Plug and Play.
That's right. And that's not to say that we don't help startups kind of connect them with investors as well, but just kind of maybe focusing on what maybe differentiates us a little bit. But Rachel, please go ahead.
Sure, we could be a little bit stage agnostic. Alchemist Accelerator itself has traditionally worked with very early stage, but as we build out the Alchemist X programs, we're working with startups up to Series B. We try to customize as much as we can. We assign every startup an Alchemist mentor from our extended network, and then we work with them where they are. As I said, customer discovery, customer development is iterative over the lifetime of the startup. And so we have the network and the connections to run those kinds of market exercises at stages all the way up to Series B. Hopefully by the time a startup has raised Series B, they're well into hypergrowth. we can, of course, also help with fundraising, as Sheaf is putting together resources in Alberta, and we have a great network in the Valley and around the world that we will be able to bring to our demo days as well.
For 500, I can jump here. We are looking for pre-series A companies, so more like the pre-seed seed type of startups would really benefit from our program. In terms of the funding, like everybody else has said, these are not investment programs, so 500 will not be investing in the companies, but obviously providing the network and introductions to investors, especially in our demo days. And then I also saw a question here about equity, and we do not take equity from the startups.
Same for
Thank
plug
you.
and play as well.
So thank you, Lucia. Colin, does that answer your question as well?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know that the rules might be a little bit different with Alberta Innovates helping out, but I'm excited to hear that. I think that's a great starting plan for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Just to add on, all the accelerators, they have multiple program streams, and the streams that is coming to Alberta, it's purely the accelerator stream with no equity, and good news for the founders, and no fees either. So it's all about qualifying to join the programs. Excellent. So Gail, you're next in line again for another question. They weren't interested in investment. Yeah. So I hope, did that answer your second question? If they're not interested in investment, they can still apply for the programs. Absolutely. Michael Milo has a question. Do you want to hop on? Or can you hop on? Okay, I'll ask it in the interest of time. Michael's asking which programs will be focusing on companies that are in growth phase, Series A funding, will plug and play only be focusing on clean tech and health? So Sharif, you can start with this one.
So yes, clean tech and health are two of the three programs we'll be running. The third one will be sector agnostic with a focus on AI.
Perfect.
And that's all
Lucia.
on the website too.
Yes, like I mentioned, you know, pre-series A, series A, and everything before that, it's a great fit for the 500 program.
Rachel?
All the way up to Series B.
Perfect. So the next question, some of them has been answered already. So the next question is from Graham. When should a startup look at a scale-up program? Anyone? Okay, Rachel, I have you on my screen right now, so you go ahead.
I mean, it's kind of a leading question. We all work in accelerators because it's fantastic work, and we think that they're bringing a lot of opportunities to startups. I would say if a startup founder is feeling lonely, or if they feel that their idea is not hitting its full potential, if they feel that they would benefit from coaching, if they are struggling to make the connections with their customer base that they would like to, if they're not sure they're ready to bring on sales, but they really want to expand their idea of the market. There are so many triggers. There are so many reasons why you'd want to participate in one of these programs. But I would say the experience of founding a company is so isolating and so difficult. The rest of the team has the team and has the esprit de corps, but the leader is very lonely. I think one of the great benefits that accelerators bring is a cohort of fellow founders, of peers, and that really contextualizes and helps honestly with the mental health of the founders. So I would say if you're feeling that you can't keep doing this, but you know that the idea is really good, that's really the moment when you should look to an accelerator program to help.
I'll add to that, Lan, as an investor and invest in over 110 direct companies. I can tell you that in my portfolio, the companies that have gone through an accelerator do far better than those that have not gone through an accelerator. So for me, it's a great test, and I just have a higher level of confidence when a company has been through an accelerator. There's certain things on my due diligence checklist that automatically get checked.
Thank you. Lucia?
Yes, so, you know, as you're thinking of the different stages of startup development, I would say once you've gone through that validating, everything that comes with the validating stage of finding solution and market fit, prioritizing the testable solutions, once you've clarified your vision, once you have a strong founding team, once you have that growth mindset and you know that there's like a path for growth there, once you've made sure that everything in your team management, you have the right people on the bus, and once you've done some experiments, I would say that would be a great place to start transitioning into more of like that scaling phase, because like we mentioned earlier, in the accelerator program, you continue to run those experiments as you start thinking how they fit into growth. So I would say as long as you have like a good validation state and you feel that you've done good validation of your program and your market fit, I would say that you could be ready to at least start looking for the scaling phase.
And Sharif.
Yeah, I would echo what everyone else said and just kind of say that there's really no bad time to apply to an accelerator. No matter where you are in your journey, there's someone out there or in an organization out there that can help you. So I mean, it's a matter of finding the right fit. But I would say there's never a bad time to apply to an accelerator program.
And that's our leads Don to the pre-accelerator. That is just as equally a decision to be made by founders. So what are your thoughts around that, Don?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see the Scaleup accelerators coming into Alberta and the strength of the ecosystem as we're building supports for founders. We know that not all of them are going to be ready to be accepted. They're into kind of these scale up phases, and some of those earlier pieces that you need around support for validating, some earlier coaching, maybe some pieces that are kind of you haven't quite hit the intake criteria yet to get into a scale-up accelerator. We would certainly encourage you to look at Alberta's Pre-Accelerator as an option there. And it's meant to be accessible to Albertans no matter where they are in the province. That was a really kind of critical component of what we want to be able to build for Alberta's ecosystem, so that a startup and a founder, wherever you are based, have the opportunity to access these earlier stage programs.
Thank you.
Lan, maybe I jump in on that for a final comment. Having these accelerators in the province and figuring out when to join them, I mean, really, this is what we're talking about here, and you've heard this over and over again, is network and the opportunity that will come with joining this. So we're talking about coaching and we're talking about network. If you've got a company where you've got some traction, you've got an opportunity, this is like adding one of the most powerful strategic investors to your cap structure that you can do. And it's going to come at no cost to you. It's tough to explain how great of an opportunity that is for startups to jump on board and take advantage of. Just my 2 cents.
No, absolutely. So we're going to shift the conversation a little bit to our incredible post-secondary institution network here in Alberta. So Gail has a question on how are the universities being involved in the accelerators?
I can start.
And yeah.
Universities are a really important piece of our ecosystem. We have kind of formal partnerships with over 50 universities now around the world. So we're definitely looking to expand that when it comes to Alberta, and not only from a sourcing point of view, but just kind of curriculum, anything we can do to support entrepreneurs, or vice versa, anything that the universities can do to support us. We like to have that really collaborative approach and really embedding ourselves in the local ecosystem. So absolutely, we'll be looking to form those close ties.
Yeah, and I can jump in, man. We have already formal partnerships with the UFA.
I'm not hearing him.
Chief, we've lost audio on you.
Yeah, I'm not hearing.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. I was saying we've got partnerships with the UFA, University like Bridge, NATE, and other institutions in Alberta already. So we'll be looking to form large, like more educational institutions as well around the world to help with this.
Excellent. Lucia, do you have anything to add?
Yes, no, I would say kind of echo what Sharif said, being able to build partnerships with just different members of the community, including universities. We're very excited to be able to do that, you know, as we think of the different community events and the demo days and the different opportunities that there's going to be for involvement. So definitely very looking forward to being able to build partnerships with the universities.
Excellent. Do we have everybody? Don, do you have, okay, Doug, do you have, either one of you, just go ahead.
Let's have Don go first. Don can go first.
Sure. You know, certainly our PSIs are such an important part of our ecosystem, and for us, of course, an important part as we are building out this pre-accelerator piece as well, right? So it's important that we're connecting with them from that curriculum side of things, sourcing those who giving them that additional opportunity to connect into other programming, and you know, there's great things happening with our PSIs here in Edmonton for sure.
So I would just follow on and say that the universities are a critical piece of the pie here. We've got great minds that are doing wonderful research, and they're creating all kinds of opportunities that are appropriate for the pre-accelerator as well as the scale-up side of things. And where it's most beneficial, of course, is sometimes when you're an accomplished researcher, you may not have the business acumen or the training in that area, that the accelerators can help, and they can help build and grow your business case and help move you along that path. And as I made in my previous point, they also bring the network, and they bring the ability for you to commercialize and grow the opportunity.
Perfect. So the next question is from Kiana. It's about when to apply. So Kiana, have we answered your question in the conversation so far?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Gail has another question. What can Alberta community champions do to help make the accelerators successful for Alberta beyond sharing information and encouraging entrepreneurs to apply? So we'll just go.
I can start.
Okay, Ashif, start.
You know, I think encouraging people to apply is definitely the first thing, but I think all of us, all the accelerators will need mentors. So if you can start thinking of, you know, who, you know, yourself or somebody that you'd recommend, we want to build that network pool. We want to build a network of resources when it comes to, you know, they might need MBA grads to help with, you know, some part of their financial statements, et cetera, or investment. So trying to get, again, investors coming into a pool. As mentioned before, we've started a fund, a social impact fund here. But not just that, but any other funds that we can pull together to invest in these companies would be really good. And the final thing would be customers. All these companies will need customers. So if you can think of companies that will be their first customer, that will, you know, as Microsoft used to say, eat your own dog food, you know, try that out. I think that'd be really helpful for all the startups.
And I would echo that as well. I think mentors is a really important piece that the local ecosystem can help to get involved. As well, you know, I think these startup companies and founders are looking at talent acquisition. So if there are people within your network that are looking to join a startup, that's another piece that can really help them to be successful.
Yes. Echoing everything as well, you know, like the support, like Rachel was saying, entrepreneurship is a lonely road sometimes, and we are all here to support the startups. So just having that support also from the community at large, and being able to get to know all of you. And if a startup has an ask, you know, like we have the weekly meetings, we can easily like refer them to someone in the community. So just building that network of support, and that net is just vital for the stage of the startups and the challenging process that they're going to be going through as they accelerate their companies. So I would say, do not underestimate the power of support. And going back to the way you you know, typed your question, telling startups to apply, telling startups about the programs is also a great way of helping us.
Thank you. Sharif,
Len,
do you have?
Len, this might be an opportunity to speak to one of the advantages of Alberta Innovates and being in the ecosystem and being attached to the accelerators is our technology to development advisors and the role that they can play in coaching and guiding companies through the system. So if there are startups out there that are wondering where to go and how to do what they need to do, the TDAs might be a great place to start and to connect with Alberta Innovates in that capacity. We can help guide along that path as well.
Absolutely, and there are lots and lots of programs from Alberta Innovates happening right now. So there is always something for somebody. So do reach out. Sharif, is there anything you want to add to that question?
I think everything's been said already. Just network, whether that's corporate partners, whether that's helping startups or pushing startups towards accelerators. But Gail, I'll say just keep doing what you're doing, because I know we've had many conversations over the last few months, and you've been an amazing support. So just keep doing what you're doing, and thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you. There's one question specifically for Don by Jess McAllister, All Stars. How close is Alberta Pre-Accelerated to Startup Edmonton series?
Yeah, thanks so much for that question. And Startup Edmonton programming, the Pre-Accelerator kind of fits a little further along in that journey. So the really earlier stage stuff is what you're going to find in Startup Edmonton. And there is an area of kind of slight overlap, but we've really been looking at how that addresses different market needs. So our Alberta Pre-Accelerator has a really strong focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and cohorts that are equity-based, and kind of timing might be a consideration depending on your needs as an organization and a founder, as well as whether you're looking for a cohort that is going to be, hopefully soon, we'll have in-person cohorts again, but the Pre-Accelerator is designed going forward for those kind of phase 1, phase 2 pieces to actually be online for accessibility across the province. So, our guides at Innovate Edmonton can help you pick which might be the best stream based on where you're at and what you're looking for as a founder.
Thank you. So Luke has a question. Luke Stat, you have a question. Do you want to, it's quite complex. So would you like to ask it yourself so that it's clear?
Oh, sure. I didn't really intend to hop on and do it, but so my question is just at sort of personal interest. So I have a startup, actually I've talked to Colin a long time about it, that's focused on using AI to help people find social services and connecting basically companies with data to improve social services for those people over time. It's a not-for-profit, and it's built that way because we handle vulnerable populations to data. We want to work with the not-for-profit sector and government. I spent about over a year on it, and I did some extensive looking through the ecosystems across all of Canada for not-for-profit sort of accelerators to support that startup getting connected. And what I found at the end of much effort is that there's very few across Canada that are currently built to support not-for-profit startups, which is unfortunate because these are people that try to do it with no interest for themselves. So I was wondering within specifically the Alberta ecosystem, if amongst this whole group, there's an intent for sort of a future set of programming specifically intended to help Albertans create, develop, and start not-for-profits to support our local communities, especially thinking about a post-COVID lens, when many people right now I know are starting to identify issues and think about solutions, but simply don't know where to start. And unfortunately, most incubators they don't fit because there's no equity exchange, or they're not trying to make a profit or necessarily sort of sell a product. So that's hopefully kind of as condensed as I can make it, but I'd love your thoughts. I know I'm with Yeti's program right now. It's fantastic. But I'd love to see those types of programming kind of develop and start in Alberta, and in Colin's case, perhaps more in BC as well. So thank you so much.
I can take that line. I mean, that's really one of the key reasons why we started the Community Safety and Wellness Accelerator, is to help with that, right? So, encourage any startup, not-for-profit or a for-profit, to apply, because we believe we can help them. I think the kind of problem statement that you've identified here, we would have the right community agencies and the right data to help a startup like that really go through the stages.
So anyone else have anything more to add?
I'll just add to that, Luke, that we really appreciate getting that kind of feedback from founders at Innovate Edmonton. We're constantly looking to evolve our programs and see where there might be gaps and needs. So I appreciate you bringing that forward as kind of a piece that you've looked for elsewhere and haven't found support here in Edmonton. It's certainly something that we can kind of bring into the broader picture of what we're doing at Innovate Edmonton to see if we're able to, you know, as we build things in the future, address those kinds of gaps.
I can jump in very quickly. Yes, Luke, definitely. We'd love to support startups like that, you know, help you find customers and help you grow. You know, for us, our play is not to take equity and make a profit out of startups that come through our accelerators. So absolutely, we can help.
Anything else? Okay, so Luke, I hope that answered your question. Michael Milo has another question. Michael, do you want to ask?
Yeah, sorry, I just had it on mute. My question revolves around, and I think it has been touched on, like our company has gone through, several programs. And so kind of right now we're really focused on, you know, digging into the metrics of the business, improving our sales. We're a subscription-based service, so improving our retention. I'm just wondering if it's advantageous for us to kind of continue in accelerators kind of as a standard course of business, or do we take a break and just really focus on our company? Like, we definitely, you know, we're always looking for that network. We're always looking for, the next round of funding that we would be raising. So I guess what we're trying to do is balance, okay, is this the right time for us to jump back into an accelerator?
I'll gladly take that one. For the Alchemist Core Accelerator here in Silicon Valley, we frequently have founders who are co-enrolled in Alchemist and YC. Every program should bring you its unique strengths, and I'm a big proponent of daisy chaining them. In my own practice, we have work with a corporate incubator. We spin projects out of that incubator. They run through the Alchemist Accelerator, and then they go on to accelerators run by other corporate partners of ours. At every stage, the basic customer discovery motion remains relevant because you're always developing new customers, and every partner and every program should bring you new access, new opportunities, new introductions. So yeah, I think it's iterative. I think it's like going to school and then going to college and then going to graduate school.
And I would just follow on to that, and I would say, I mean, even if the accelerator, you come to join another accelerator and they help you grow your sales marginally, even in, as Sharif was saying, getting more business rather than moving to the next round of funding. But even if the next round of funding is necessary, more business is going to impact your valuation. It's going to allow you to retain more equity in your company and make it easier to raise that dough that you need to raise. So lots of value in continuing on with another accelerator.
And on that, I'll quickly add, don't let, thinking about, well, we've already been through a program, discourage you from applying to another one. Like Sharif said earlier, just apply. You never know what these accelerators are looking for. The criteria does vary, and we take the time to go through each application and really look at what you are sharing with us and the information. So don't review yourself before applying. Just apply and let the rest happen. But apply. That is my biggest piece of advice.
Thanks. That's good encouragement.
Perfect. Thank you. We just have 4 minutes left. and I just wanted to address a few, a question or two. So, well, for the next couple of questions, we're just going to have like one person talk about it, just for the sake of interest of time. So, Colin has a question about system map. Colin, we will be at Alberta Innovates. We'll be working on that one. So, you and I, we can meet offline on that if that's okay with you, Colin. Neil, you have a question. Is there a formal arrangement for sharing IP that comes out of involvement in an accelerator? If a post-secondary institution is involved, how does that typically work? So really quick across the board, who wants to start? Sheriff, you are
Sorry.
Rachel, go ahead.
We have lawyers on call. In general, if you have a startup that's licensing technology from a post-secondary institution, you have an agreement with them. They receive a little bit of equity in exchange for their IP. If you're participating in an accelerator on a non-equity basis, the accelerator should not take any of the IP. It all belongs to you. Whatever you develop over the course of the program is yours. Your relationship with the university probably involves an equity exchange, but I think in the case of all of these programs, not taking equity, the accelerator does not have an IP interest in your work. It's all yours.
Okay, so Lucia and Sharif, unless it's any different, are all the same? Okay, perfect. I'm sorry to rush because we have some really good questions here at the end. Tracy has another question. Something Ashiv said caught my attention. I believe he said he's more likely to find a company that has come out of an accelerator. I wonder about the responsibility this puts on accelerators to make sure they aren't biased in terms of the types of founders they are approving into their program. What are these accelerators doing to make sure they are representative of the whole founding community? So this is more than a 1 minute, 10-second answer, but does anybody have a quick answer to this?
It's a very shrewd question, but it speaks to the quality of the accelerator experience. And that quality is diluted if we are biased. I think I can speak for the entire accelerator community when we say that in selection, we are really focused on excellence. We are focused on identifying the companies that are the best fit for the program. And to that end, I put a lot of work into making sure that the judging panels on the admitting committees of all of my programs are representative, that they include women, that they include people of color, that they include previous startup founders as well as investors. So I'm really looking for the companies that will be the best fit for the program and have the most impact as they go through that program. If we didn't do that, then they wouldn't be the exciting ventures that Ashiv wants to invest in at the other end.
Lucia?
Yes, no, that was a great answer. I was nodding the whole time. Just diversity also on the side of the accelerator, the team that is speaking, the selection committee is key. And these selection committees are not just one person, they're like a group of people. And I mean, I can speak from our experience. We have a grid, there's objective, like that's how you kind of like evaluate. So it's not just up to one person, it's up to a group. And there's procedures there to be able to protect the startups and make sure that the process is unbiased as possible.
Sheriff?
They gave perfect answers already. I don't really have anything to add.
Fantastic. So with that, thank you, everyone. And I will pass it on to Doug to close us up.
Thanks, Lan. Well, as you can see, we've got 4 really unique, really exciting accelerators, and it is no exaggeration to say that this is an unprecedented opportunity for Alberta. Never before have startups had the access to groups like this to accelerate their companies, and to the notion of reaching the target, the ambitious target set by jobs, economy, and innovation is within reach by way of this program. So to all of the panelists, thank you for your time today, and we are very excited to work with you. Very excited to see the impact you're going to make on our province. and always here to support. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and pleased that we could be with you today. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And reach out if you have any questions.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.